Since starting this YouTube channel 7 months ago, I have made no secret of the fact that the Fujifilm X-T5 is one of my favorite cameras. And you can bet that when the time comes to pack my bag and to head out on the next adventure, this camera will almost surely make the cut. And that begs the question, what is it that defines this camera? What is it that the Fujifilm X-T5 does best? Well, I believe the answer is that it's perfected the art of illusion. It's something I think Fujifilm more broadly has perfected. So stick around, let me explain, and at the end of the video, I'm gonna go against one perception of Fujifilm cameras that I think is a deep misunderstanding by so many people. The Fujifilm X-T5 is an excellent camera, and it doesn't take this whole video for me to get to that point. In fact, I've already made another video explaining that you can watch, and so have many, many other photographers. But beyond the functional excellence of a camera, what is it that differentiates the X-T5? Why would you really buy it in a marketplace that's flooded with really, really excellent options? Well, this is where I think a couple of things become really important, and one of them is going to be the focus of this video. First, there's the personality of a camera, and the personality is what suggests you to pick it up, what implores you to go create. That's the intangible nature of an object that ultimately you can attach to. I'm a bit romantic about this because I don't just simply see cameras as tools. I've owned very high functioning cameras that don't make me want to shoot, and I've owned cameras that are less functional that absolutely get me out the door. And so that's something I value more than many of the other variables in any camera consideration. Hey, sorry for the interruption. I realize it may be uncommon to make camera purchasing decisions based on these kinds of intangible variables that I'm discussing. So if you have something that you ultimately live by, whether it's sensor size or the mount or whatever, what makes you choose a camera over another camera? I'd love to know how you guys make your purchasing decisions and why. Let me know down below. Let's have a conversation about it. But second, and really the point of this video, is this concept of perfecting illusion. And this is where I think Fujifilm is really unique. The X-T5 is excellent at this, as I'll get into, but really many of the Fujifilm cameras are quite good at this. Not all of them, but many of them. Before I go on though, I want to clarify what I mean by illusion. And by definition, it's the indirect reference. And I think of it like a suggestion. It's a suggestion to do something. It's a suggestion of aesthetic, of importance, of utilitarian application. So consider illusion this idea of a suggestion or a nudge. The first illusion that Fujifilm makes with the X-T5, and really with all of the X-T series, is actually the reason I bought into the system 5 years ago with the Fujifilm X-T2. And this is the illusion to field experience. The tactile nature of the camera, its robustness and toughness, but its eloquence embedded in all of this. It hints at the pursuit of stories and adventures. It's a simplicity that marks the differentiation between this camera and many of the other more computer-oriented cameras of today. And that's not to say functionally that when you get into the guts of the X-T5, it doesn't look pretty similar to those cameras. It has most of the same functions, but the build, the simplicity, the mechanical nature of it, it alludes to this kind of pursuit of adventure. Consider the old Nikon F2 Titan built in 1977 for polar exploration. At the time, there were already other cameras that were more sophisticated, although the dubious nature of electronics in mid-70s cameras is, dubious. But that camera, the F2 Titan, was built very mechanically and very toughly with the idea that when taken into hazardous environments, it will function simply and reliably. I think of the Fujifilm X-T5 and the whole X-T series as fitting into this illusion. The illusion that it's built for field work, that it's built for adventure, that it's built for tough circumstances. The second illusion that Fujifilm makes with the X-T5 is probably the most ubiquitous and well-known. It's maybe the most obvious, and that is the allusion to analog. But why would that matter? Why would it matter if a camera is built like a film camera? Well, for one, it ties into my last point that ultimately this kind of build has a sense of reliability that manifests in tough environments, and I like that. But it also has that soul factor, the fun factor. A camera that's built like an analog camera ultimately allows you to work more closely with the camera, to consider it more intimately. Rather than scrolling through menus, you're working with dials, and this may not suit you. If you're looking to this video for a recommendation as to whether this camera is for you or not, this might be a pivotal moment. If you don't want to deal with this sort of physical nature, this is not going to be the camera that you should get. But it is something that is really embedded in the soul of the camera. This allusion to analog gives it a timeless feel. In even the heft of the camera, the way it feels in the hand, it is built sturdy. Now, there are other cameras that try to do this, and obviously the most clear one today is the Nikon ZF. This is another really beautiful camera that's clearly alluding to something like the Nikon F3 of past, or even the FM2s. And it's a beautiful camera, but the feeling in hand, in my opinion, has not been nearly as satisfying as using the Fujifilm X-T5. And it's something that differentiates the whole XT series, and it's really been a reason for people to buy the cameras all along. Now, right now, there's a renaissance happening in the film industry. People are buying film cameras for way too much simply because the experience of using them takes them to a different artistic place. But film is super expensive. Film cameras are increasingly expensive, and the process, quite frankly, doesn't often make all that much sense unless you're willing to put in the time. I am only occasionally willing to put in the time, so for me it's not worth it. So the X-T5, it allows you to have that fun factor, the soul factor reintroduced into your camera. Then there's the third and final illusion, and this one matters to me because it directly relates to the feel of the camera. There's this illusion to less. When you pick up a Fujifilm X-T5 or really any other XT series camera, you get this feeling like this is a small camera. It's perhaps focused strictly on photography. It's pure in many ways, but this illusion to less is almost a ruse in a way. The X-T5 really is an incredibly capable hybrid camera. Not just that, its photo features are robust across the board. Between time lapses to long exposures, the way the in-body image stabilization works just to the actual clarity and beauty of the images, it's an incredibly robust system. And then if you're a video shooter like I am, you can make movies with the X-T5. It has an incredible feature set ranging all the way up to 6.2K quality images and different codecs and all kinds of different tools that you can use to get the kind of image you would want out of the camera. All this to say that this illusion to less, it makes the camera less intimidating to pick up. It makes it a tool that ultimately fits into your hand seamlessly, but it gives you so much room to grow. With every single day that Fujifilm becomes more trendy on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, we see more and more people using these cameras as accessory items that are ultimately about more of their looks than they are about their competencies. Now, I think the misunderstanding of Fujifilm is that it's strictly built upon this premise of, beautiful JPEGs, or strictly built on this premise of small lenses for street-focused photography. In truth, these cameras are built robustly. They're built to handle pretty much every environment you can throw at them. The only one I've personally really disliked using them in is with wildlife photography, where they did fall short for me. But in every other space, I think they're wildly capable cameras. And, to discredit lenses like the 8-16 or the 200mm prime or the 50-140 or 16-55, all because they aren't necessarily small lenses, is doing the camera system as a whole an injustice. The XT series falls in this funny realm where it is a smaller camera, but that by no means should be something that qualifies it as an accessory. Now, the Fujifilm X-T5 has become one of my favorite cameras, and when anybody asks me for a recommendation about which camera they should get in the lower end of pro tier cameras, I do recommend the Fujifilm X-T5 if they're willing to embrace the analog and physical aspects of the camera. I even go back to the X-T4, the X-T3, or the X-T2 if their budgets don't allow for the newest generation, because each of those cameras has been exceptional for many of the same reasons that the X-T5 is exceptional. But what really breathes life into the X-T series, what really makes them stand out, is the way that Fujifilm perfectly alludes to various aspects of the camera experience. The way they allude to field experience, encouraging you to get outside, encouraging you to go on adventures and to trust this camera. The way they allude to the analog experience, giving you something that feels timeless in a way, that feels truly fun. And the way they allude to less, taking the pressure out of your hands, giving you a tool that ultimately feels, minor in many ways, but is truly a hybrid powerhouse. All of these things combine to make this an incredibly interesting camera, an incredibly fun camera, an incredibly trustworthy camera that's capable of anything you can think of in nearly any environment. So, do I recommend this camera? Wholeheartedly. Thank you so much for watching this whole video. I really appreciate it, and I hope it provided some value for you. As a reminder, in the next couple of months, I'll be releasing my ebook, An Introduction to Photographic Storytelling. I'm really excited about this. After 140 pages, several months of work, and a whole bunch of edits, it's coming together, and I'm pretty proud of it. The only way to know when it comes out and to get half off when it does is to sign up for my newsletter using the link below. Hint, hint, it may eventually be available for free to people in that group, only for a short amount of time, so make sure you sign up for that. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. I will talk to you soon, and if you have any thoughts about the video, any disagreements, any conversations you want to start at all, toss them down below. I always love chatting with you guys. All right, have a good one.